All right, welcome to the LongBox Paradox. I don't know, episode 76, maybe 75. I'm not sure. I didn't look.
Who knows? What day is it even? Do the days matter?
Not really, especially since I work overnights. They just all bleed into one another.
Just blurs.
I am Dan, your host, and we have Jennifer at Jen Comics with us from the Comic Lounge, working on her project article, maybe, possibly.
So many things. There's like 3 different things going on, so.
I know I promoted Cidnyareads being with us, and, well, she had a personal matter come up that was very, very important, so she is not here. Maybe she'll be here, maybe not, probably not. I'm just going to go with probably not. And hello, Vigilante.
Hello!
Pleasure having you here again. Going to get right into the Diamond Comics, DC Comics, Brian Hibbs article.
Man, I saw a couple comic store owners repost what I just saw it on Facebook, and I don't know if he originally put it on Facebook or whatever, but he just fucking lays into Diamond.
Well, DC.
Or DC, yeah, I apologize.
Jim Lee in particular.
Yeah. Basically saying, like, I need answers for, like, A, B, and C.
So, after reading that and seeing a response from the other comic store owners who were for and against, the biggest thing is they're using competitors as a distribution, and they have to turn over their financial stuff to be able to use them as a distributor. They hid the fact that DCBS and Midtown were the distributors because they used shell company names. Transparency was very much lacking. And from what Hibbs said, it took them all 40 minutes to figure out who it was. Again, it's competitors and people who deeply cut prices online because they're so big.
That, and one of the other biggest issues about what DC announced is that they wanted to do new releases on Tuesday. Like, this is an entire industry that, like, on Wednesday we read comics, like, that is new comic book day, and that you want to do new releases on Tuesday. And, like, I'm not gonna lie, I looked at the lineup for what they said that their first
it was
Tuesday,
weak.
It's so weak. Like, that's what you're really gonna give us? I think that DC should have, for sure, maybe pushed it off another 2 weeks to a month and just come out really strong, and they didn't.
I feel actually it was on purpose. They had the weak lineup the first week, so that way anybody who didn't get in on time.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't want to do premiere books. Review for Alien Day on Sunday. All right, well, I'm glad we could be a distraction.
Yeah. I saw. I started reading. Which alien was it? Started getting into it, and man, it gave me vibes from the Grant Morrison book that I just read. Holy Jesus, what was it called?
I
keep wanting to say
the
movie.
I want to say Nowhere, but no, that's not it.
Nameless. And then the other movie that I feel like it just all blends together, but it's been good so far.
Dead Orbit.
Yeah. Yep. Dead Orbit. Yep. So that's the alien book that I think I'm like on issue. I downloaded the volume, and I think I'm on issue 2 so far.
Huh. I'm trying to think if I've read that or not.
It was easily available on Comixology, so I'm like, okay, download.
I'm really trying to remember which one that is. I usually read most of that Aliens books. I probably read and just don't remember it, which is horrible. But so yeah, Hibbs had some good points, and then some were just extra salty.
For good reason, I think.
Mainly, like, the thing I understand is, great, these stores in other parts of the country can sell stuff. California, they're not opening.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of your major markets.
For sure. So I'm in that, like, kind of Washington, Oregon, California. The governors signed a pact saying, we're not going to open back up until science and doctors are telling us, like, industry experts are telling us that it's okay. And so I think that we may start to see some like limited rollout. And even from the beginning of all of this, I think most of the good retailers have been pretty good about, okay, we're going to shift from you coming into the store. We're still going to offer excellent service, but we're going to do curbside pickup and we're going to do deliveries. And I know I've talked about Books with Pictures, like my local store. She has literally been driving around doing deliveries on her own to make sure people are getting comic books and doing incredible like live recommendations. So I think that the industry will survive if most of the retailers can come up with a solution.
And I think the retailers have been some progressive, some kind of slow. Some, the closings just happen way too fast for them to even figure out what to do. Like the head was spinning. I recommend, though, Brian Hibbs, he's at Savage Critic on Twitter. That is where you can find all his rantings on it. That's where Bleeding Cool found all of them to turn into that article. There were a couple of other retailers who chimed in, and it's kind of the same thing of, this is bad. Like, it's just a bad way to roll out. You have barely any time to get it together, and then Hibbs brought up that during the crash, Diamond kept kept Marvel afloat, kept DC afloat. They actually put their own money into keeping these companies going.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw Alterna Comics dropped out of Diamond altogether.
I think Alterna, and there was one or two other ones that I saw that were like, we're just completely ceasing operations with Diamond, which I think is pretty cool. Was it Scout Comics? I think which is based in Fort Myers, Florida.
Yeah, it might have been Scout.
Mm-hmm. So them basically saying, we're going to do our own distributing, which I don't know if I think that competition in the market will be a good thing. And in my opinion, I think Diamond just needs to step up altogether. Even before, pandemic and quarantine and all of this, Diamond really needs to treat its customers better, the people buying comic books, as well as the local comic book stores. So maybe this will force them to roll off better credit establishment and communication with stores.
Well, to be fair, if you ever want to be entertained, look on the Glassdoor website for employment and look at employer reviews of working at Diamond.
Yeah.
Not treated well.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's probably one of the things where you think, oh, like I'm going to work in the comic book industry and I'm going to go work for Diamond and it's just going to be rainbows and butterflies, and you get there and it's not.
Yeah. Someone had said it best that you may love comics, but comics will never love you.
Yep. Comics will break your heart.
And you can use that for every job almost.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I worked with books for 20 years and broke my heart.
Mm-hmm.
So outside of that, Marvel has stayed pretty damn quiet about everything, and rightly so.
I feel like I've seen the least amount of stuff from them. I don't know if they're doing that on purpose, or maybe they're scheming behind the scenes a little bit more purposefully and trying to be more strategic about things. But
and they need to be.
Yeah.
And also another thing that was in the news, Netflix and Boom Studios had a first look deal, and Something is Killing the Children #1 suddenly just shot up price-wise.
Whew.
So it's now the Jenny Friesen one's almost up to $30
Oh my gosh.
issue now, which is a great cover. That's the best Erica Slaughter cover.
For sure. I've seen a couple people making masks with the teeth on it, like she has, since we're all supposed to be wearing masks now. And I think that we'll be wearing masks for a very long time. So talked about Cidnya from Alternate Comics. I'm not so happy about their self-distribution, especially for as a European, since I won't buy a $1 comic and pay 30 times the amount of shipping. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, that is something. I mean, yeah, especially for Europe, that is rough. I mean, at that point, digital is your way to go, unfortunately.
And once again, completely dropping the ball, completely leaving out the European market. I don't know if they have a plan, and once again, they're just behind the scenes thinking about what their strategy is going to be, but that really stinks.
I mean, DC Comics too. They have no distribution for Europe as well currently, at least not that I saw. I know Diamond Europe, I think, was opening up pretty soon, but see what happens.
We'll see.
So let's go on to the picks. You go first.
So, I did a buy. Like, I went ahead. That's why this box is right here next to me. What's in the box? It's comic books. It's comic books. So there's a couple things in here that, because they were half off, I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna snag them. So shout out to, if you can see this logo, it's Horror Trader, but I bought them from Hero Trader. Horror Trader is kind of the horror spin-off. So definitely go and follow them on Instagram. Because there was a lot of books in here because they were half off. But the first one that I wanted to show off, and it was because it was recommended because of Nailbiter, but I went ahead and bought Ghosted Volumes 1 and 2. I need a little bit more horror in my life.
I just dread for the moment you read it and go, I really didn't like it.
No. So here's the thing is that I'll always be like a pinch critical about things and maybe suggest improvements. But when it comes to comic books, I feel like I'm really never going to trash things, or I'm at least going to silver line it. If I do trash anything, it's going to be trash in a silver lined trash bag. But I'm really excited to read this because not only did you recommend it to me, but several other people had recommended it. So I'm very, very excited to read this. And I really like the art style.
Yeah. Goran Suzuka.
Yeah, Goran Suzuka. That one is kind of a mouthful. It looks like in volume 2, it changed to David Gianfelice.
Yes,
so
they
some really
changed
fun
artists
names.
A lot.
But I don't know. I like the art style in both. I like the colors in both. So I think this will be a really fun read. And who knows, I may end up picking up volume 3, 4, 5, whichever.
Falls apart after volume 2.
Oh, cool. Then I bought the good 2. So.
Well, unless you get hooked on it and then you want to see how it ends, then, you know. Because the end did have a kind of interesting payoff. It's just, I want to say it was volume 3. I was like, could have gone either way, but I kept buying because I was supporting Josh Williamson. He was always great to me on Twitter. Like, nicest dude.
So after reading Nailbiter, and I've read part of volume 2, I'll probably go ahead and pick up the other ones once again because it was highly recommended. So after reading Nailbiter, I think I'm almost positive I'm really going to enjoy this.
He did a Vertigo title before they crashed too, where they've got rid of that label called Frostbite.
Okay, yeah.
That was pretty good. It was different from anything else he wrote. So I enjoyed that.
Very cool. What's yours? One of your picks.
So we've been kind of on this Grant Morrison kick lately. So the new X-Men that he did, the first thing he did was kill thousands of mutants right off the bat in this by having Sentinels attack Genosha, which sounds like it's a part of Wisconsin for some reason. Maybe it sounds like Kenosha.
It does, especially because a lot of Wisconsin was settled by like Eastern Europe-ish. So maybe that's why it sounds like that. I don't know. I get it.
And this introduced all these different weird new mutants into it, like with all these like Beak and some other characters, and then had Frank Quitely's art, which pretty long partner of Grant Morrison doing books too. It also had Chris Bachalo art in it, Lionel Francis Yu. There was like kind of a who's who of artists. Morrison's writing, it's always that kind of outlandish, surreal, really imparts his own crazy into it. And it was a completely entertaining run until the people in charge at Marvel finally just burned him out, and he came back to DC. And I think he came back to DC for Seven Soldiers.
That sounds about right.
Which I really liked. And then he got All-Star Superman, which is one of the finest Superman stories written. And I want to say it was quietly on art on some of that too. And I think a little bit of Burnham.
Whenever I think of Frank Quitely, I always just think about the jaw lines that he draws. Like, it's got that like thick with two C's jaw lines, if I could describe it anyway. It's just, it's
his Cyclops. It's like angles.
I have a special place in my heart for that. So
I highly recommend the entire Grant Morrison run on this. It was just really, really good. And then there was not that great of a run right after this, and then it ended up the Astonishing X-Men, the Joss Whedon run, which John Cassidy from Planetary's art on that, he drew my favorite Kitty Pryde ever. Kitty Pryde's always been one of my favorite characters, so I always enjoy her being in the stories. And that is my first pick.
Okay. I've got a lot. I know that normally we like come to this with like 3, and then I'm just like, wait, there's more. But wait, there's more. So
all right, Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Well, one more thing.
One more thing. I went ahead. Let me go ahead and because I enjoyed Volume 1 so much, and I didn't pick up the single issues for this, but I ended up getting Volume 2. I know it's kind of dark, but I got Volume 2 of Pearl. I so enjoyed the first one. Brian Michael Bendis, Michael Gaydos, like
alias artist.
Yeah, 100%. This is just, it's beautiful, and I can't wait to dig into this. I know these aren't like happy stories, but I get happiness from reading these, so I'm very excited to get into this.
No, it's a very cool story. I actually was reading it on the monthly when it was coming out, and I enjoyed it. By the time you get to the last volume, I think that's where it figures itself out.
It's because in this story, if anyone hasn't read it, it's about a Asian American who she is a tattoo artist, and her mom was a tattoo artist, but then you find out that she has a special knack for killing people, and there's this like thing that happens with her skin and the tattoos, and then you find out that her mom's in the like a big boss in the Yakuza, and you kind of find that out at the end. So I'm really excited to see where it goes from there in Volume 2. So I probably should have said this, spoiler alert, but that was Volume 1. I'm going to read Volume 2.
I really enjoyed that book. Michael Gaydos, very underrated.
His art style, I think, is very particular, and I could definitely see if people don't like the artwork at all, because it's very digital, but I think that it works with the stories because it's very like kinetic, like it moves.
Plus the David Mack cover gallery that you see inside is also beautiful. 100%.
Yeah.
So next for me, I know a week or two ago, I kind of went on a rant about Scott Snyder and how I kind of feel like he lost his mojo as a writer. One of my favorite books by him is American Vampire. It's him with Raphael Albuquerque and Dave McCaig on colors. When he does horror, and I think that's really his wheelhouse, because even his Batman run was kind of a bit of a horror title to a degree with killers. This is like a jaunt through time. It starts in 1925, and we meet Skinner Sweet, who has been around for a long time and is a vampire. And they go into this whole kind of legacy of the vampires where everybody thinks all vampires are the same, but weirdly it's their weaknesses and their abilities are kind of go with where they were created. So European vampires are bats and they're affected by silver. American vampires turn into like almost snake-like creatures and they also are affected by gold. That's their metal weakness. And it goes through time, and Skinner turns this girl who's an aspiring actress. I want to say her name was Pearl.
It's been a minute since I've read that, so I can't remember.
Pearl Jones.
Pearl Jones.
She's a young aspiring actress, and she gets turned, and it's basically the story about her Skinner Sweet, and Skinner Sweet is like a dirty kind of scumbag. He just looks sweaty and greasy.
As vampires kind of should. I think that we, for a long time, especially when I think of vampires, like I think of Anne Rice and how like vampires are like elegant and smooth. So seeing like a greasy, nasty vampire, that's how I would imagine that they would look. Yeah, for sure.
And as an example of some of the vampire stuff, like when Pearl finally turns, she gets the giant distended jaw, and it's a great book, and it goes through different times. Gail Simone had an anthology book that she did a story in with Tula Lotay on art, which was just and that anthology, but it was actually one of the best Gail Simone stories I had read in a long time. But it's worth picking up. Scott Snyder and Raphael Albuquerque are such a great art writer team. I love the way it goes through time, and their characters you should hate that you end up loving. Pearl is also a very complicated protagonist because she's a victim, but at the same time, she does horrible shit. I 100% agree on this. Actually, I will say the Joker story, not Death of the Fan, might have been Endgame, was really good. Witches, though, I can't wait to come back because I love Jock's art on that. And the way it ended, and then the Bad Egg storyline that they did in the Image Plus.
For sure. When I think Scott Snyder, I immediately go to Witches, and it breaks my heart that it's been 2014, 2015 so about 5 years since granted we saw Bad Egg, but
it has been, holy shit, that has been 5 years.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Do you think that we will see a return of Witches anytime soon? Has he said anything?
Jock has been drawing it. Like, he's shown pages on his Instagram, but maybe they're just taking their time.
Maybe.
I'm not 100% sure. Your next pick.
Oh, so another pick of mine. This is one that not necessarily that has been recommended to me, but I've always seen it on the shelves and I never picked it up. And then once again, it was half off, and I'm like, okay, time to read it. But Plastic. This one is going to be one that, like, the cover art always intrigued me, but then I never. So if you can see the cover here, it's pretty cool. Like, it's pretty graphic. This is going to be one that I do not know if I'm going to like it or not. I know it's going to be weird. I know that it kind of touches on some subject matter, it's crime, it's horror, it's all of that, but it's going to be weird enough for me. That's what I want to know. Is it going to be weird, and is it going to take it to a place?
It's fucking weird. It is. I don't want to go too much into it.
And like literally on the back, I'm reading the back too, and this may be backwards, but it says, "Oh, and did we mention that Virginia's a sex doll?" I think that's probably going to be the part that I maybe enjoy the most. I don't know.
It's like Lars and the Real Girl, but with a psychotic serial killer.
So this one I think is going to be, I think I'm going to either walk away really, really loving it, and then like coming back to the next week and being like, okay, everyone has to read Plastic. Shut up and read Plastic. Or it's going to be one that I'm like, okay, I started reading it and I fucking hated it and put it down immediately. So, we'll see. Anyone want to take bets? Is anyone listening, watching, want to take bets on if I like this or not? Who knows?
I think you will, but it's something you'll read once and never go back to.
Oh,
That was
Okay,
my
so
opinion on it.
we'll see on this one. I think that I'll probably, I mean, maybe I'll do this one a little bit inebriated. We'll see. Okay.
Okay.
What's your next pick?
I have many.
Okay, cool. Because I
So-
have many. Yay.
So, again, we've been going on about Warren Ellis, and a week or two ago, you had picked up The Authority, and I had said, oh, you should read the Stormwatch. That started it all out. Well, I started reading Stormwatch again by Warren Ellis and Tom Rainey. This is when Stormwatch finally got good. It took a long time for it to, but again, Warren Ellis brings his own sensibilities in. But the one that really takes the cake in this run is Change or Die. This is when the story finally comes together, and this also spawns The Authority out of this trade, where the this character comes out of hiding, and he's basically like a Superman, and he decides that he needs to change the world. It's either going to evolve or die. And he brings their version of the Doctor, the Engineer. There's a character called Rose Tattoo who has the ability to kill anything.
So it's like we're getting the gang together.
Yeah, and like literally she's tattooed. But that's his. They have well, by the end, that's when everything kind of happens, and the Authority spawns out of it because Jenny Sparks takes the people and leaves. And the very last one is the downfall of Stormwatch, Final Orbit, where aliens have now infected their satellite, and the xenomorphs basically kill most of Stormwatch. The Authority come in and save them, and what people are left, basically they killed half of the Stormwatch members in it. So
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
I didn't say who. I did not say who, but of course Warren Ellis manages to do it in a grand way where he can't just half-ass it. He really goes all in on it.
I've got company. My cat Luna would like to recommend some comics to all you folks out there. His favorite book is Saga, and Lion Cat's his favorite.
Of course.
So, of course. Sorry about that.
It's all right. Mine luckily he's behaving. So Stormwatch is a great run, but really just the Warren Ellis run on it is good. The stuff before that, not so much.
Yes.
It was one of those not great DC, Wildstorm titles, where it was. I think it was one of their worst selling ones, and then like Warren Ellis came on, and it became such an interesting read. And this is
Warren Ellis probably did some like crazy magic, like Grant Morrison, and I don't know, did a sigil.
No, nobody does
Something.
magic like Grant Morrison.
Grant Morrison.
Thundercats. Oh, that's Luna's favorite.
Oh yeah, that he hasn't read Thundercats yet, so maybe so Luna is also deaf. He's a deaf cat, so I would say I'd read it to him, but I can't because he's fucking deaf.
That is the end of my comic picks.
Oh God. Okay, so I'll probably make this a little bit shorter because I went on a buying rampage. So there's a lot in here. So let's see what else I have in here. I did go ahead and because it seemed wacky and weird. And I haven't read it yet. Once again, it's a title that I always end up seeing on the shelf and never bought it, and it's probably like 10 years old by now. But Cryptocracy. So it looked like that cool blend of weird science fiction and horror and some conspiracy theory shit. So
your brand.
My brand, weird shit, science fiction. So this one I'm kind of excited to get into. And once again, it could go either way. It could be like, I really like it or I really hate it. And who knows? So Cryptocracy.
Never read it.
Yeah. I think like it's pretty old at this point. Sorry, I'm looking for a year that it came out. Let me see if it shows me that in the front. But I just thought the the cover was pretty cool. You can see that. And I'm totally wrong. This came out in 2017. So it's only freshly 3 years old right now. So
Super fresh.
super fresh, relatively. It says it's a high octane sci-fi thriller. Delve into a conspiracy millennia in the making. So I feel like I've been reading a lot of stuff that has those themes to it. So
Animation.
Yay! So we'll see if this actually like lives up to that. I think that Grant Morrison just really, with Nameless, set that bar high for me with weird science fiction. So I don't know if this will really do it, but we'll see.
Next one.
I could probably like pull out like 2 more comics if we just want to like go through like comic book, unless you have more.
I have movies, and we need to talk about a TV thing.
We do. So let me go ahead and just kind of like show everyone, do like a little bit of an unboxing of the shit that I bought.
We got time.
Cool. So another one that I bought, and speaking of our boy Warren Ellis, I had read Transmetropolitan way back in high school, and in my collection I only have volume 1. They were half off, so I got volume 2 and volume 3. So I'll probably pick up 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, when I'm done with these. But I got volume 2, volume 3 of Transmetropolitan, which I feel like is so pertinent right now. Spider Jerusalem, just immediately, as soon as you see him on the page, you can like feel this character, and he's a piece of shit, but I love him. Like, I love those characters that are just like crappy characters. So we'll see here. The next one that I've got for us, I got Hit Girl, 1 and 2, the new run. I know, but Jeff Lemire, Mark Millar, I'm gonna do it. I really like Hit Girl as a character.
I do too. I just thought they were not that great.
One thing that I think that has stopped me from getting this sooner is that I was very, not necessarily confused, but I feel like because of the different writers, the style is just going to be kind of inconsistent. And then we're in Canada and then we're in Colombia. And so, I know going into it, but I just love Hit Girl as a character. So I'm going to read it. Don't judge me.
The Kevin Smith one was the one that I on my review jammed. I got upset. It was kind of tone deaf. It was after something happened recent in the news, and it went on, and I was like, dude, you can't do this. It's
yeah. Well, maybe I won't read that one. So
yeah, I would avoid it like the plague.
Boo on Kevin Smith. I also, because I hadn't read this one, and when I look at my shelves, like I was telling a friend who is maybe going to visit me later this fall, and she was like, I want to look at your comic book collection. And I'm like, just so you know, it's heavy on Image right here. And I literally have a shelf or 2 of Marvel, a shelf of 2 of DC. So I'm like, I need more Marvel. So I got Thanos. Excuse me. Thank you. So Thanos dies, and I think this one had a lot more to do with Gamora, and I really like Gamora as a character, so I'm going to go ahead and try to read this one more consistently.
The Donny Cates Thanos was actually pretty good.
Yeah. And then what was the other one? I read the last Thanos-y thing that I read was Cosmic Ghost Rider, Baby Thanos Must Die.
Yeah.
And that was really fun. So I don't know, I'm going to go into this just with no expectations, with literally I don't know, nothing, and hopefully enjoy it. Next thing that I got, I never read it, and I just love Gail Simone. So I went ahead and got Plastic Man.
It was fun.
I picked this one up, and my partner was like, really, Plastic Man? And I'm like, Gail Simone. So I'm gonna go ahead and read this one, just because it looks that's how all of our conversations are. No, I'm just kidding. So I know that I'm just gonna enjoy this one a lot. So
you're gonna start using the expression "that's so wang."
That's so wang. I don't know about that.
Eh.
Okay. So just to kind of breeze through these. I hadn't read Aquaman Volume 1, but Aquaman Volume 2 is available for half off. So I'm like, screw it. I'm going to go ahead and buy it. So I haven't read this one. I'm not going to read it until I get Volume 1. Like, I kind of got into the single issues, but never finished it. So, you know, my love for KSD. So we're going to read this one. Once again, I think my partner was like, really? Aquaman? And I'm like, really? Killing Cidnya? I know that I'm going to enjoy Aquaman because I enjoy pretty much all of her stories. Last two that I have right here, Headlopper was one that I thought that I had on my shelf and I can't find it. So I'm like, okay, it's stupid cheap, but let me go ahead and get it. I just love the artwork style. If you can see that.
I never had the interest in that series. Nothing about it ever really like made me want to pick it up.
I think it's mostly the art style for me. Like, it's that weird, like I refer to it as like a European style because it's very clean and dirty at the same time, and then the colors never match your expectations. So I just really enjoy that. It kind of reminds me the art style of the new Netflix show, The Midnight Gospel. Is that what I'm thinking of? That's just like a weird,
I haven't watched
wacky.
it.
Okay, it's very, very weird, and I'm not going to get into it here. Okay, so my last thing that I bought, because I need like a palate cleanser, and I just need something fun and refreshing that like kind of hits at my emotions, but not like too deeply. But I got Moonstruck just because I knew it was going to be adorable and heartbreaking. So, and it's done by, I can't think of their name, that did Grace Ellis, who did Lumberjanes, and I just love Lumberjanes. So, yeah.
The Lumberjanes Gotham Academy crossover I kind of enjoyed.
Yeah. So that is it for all the stuff that I got from Hero Trader / Horror Trader. I did get one other thing, but it's a book, so I'll talk about that later.
Okay. So we were discussing it via DM that we're going to do a Dune over.
Dune over.
So our first stream together was doing a Dune stream about the sci-fi TV movie, and we kind of went into the books a little bit. We just talked about a palate cleanser, and there's some things in that video I don't like. Someone I don't like in the video who was with us. Yeah. So I'm back at it again.
Yes.
We're gonna. And
Dune
since I worked at a bookstore, we used to get all the paperbacks free when they had to get returned, so we stripped the cover off. So I have a large collection of these. So our supposed co-host today, Cidnya, has been reading it, and she's struggling. So I figured, well, what the hell? It's time. It is still thick, still imposing. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. And I'm going to go through this. I'm currently with 5 novels right now. So I'm reading a chapter from each a day.
And you're one of the, from the people that I know, are still like physically working, going into stores. And man, like, I've just got to commend you. If you've got 5 books and like you're still working full time and extra full time, like, man, I've got to give it to you, because I need time to like eat and sleep and poop and pee, like, let alone like work 40 hours a week and read.
Well, when I come home, I can't unwind because I have a very physical job, and I'm usually like adrenalized. So like I'll lay down, start reading. So like I'll read a chapter from this book and maybe a chapter from another one, and then my days off, like I'll try and do it. It kind of starts blending together though. Time is a flat circle.
Yeah.
So that's it for my novels.
I don't necessarily have a novel here, but I do have, this is part of like my like comic book buy. Sorry, I just like showed the cover, but before I like go into it, so I've been reading a couple different things. So I've been reading Monster, She Wrote, which is about the women who pioneered speculative fiction and horror, you know, the likes of Mary Shelley and just so many other And then I've also been reading Lady from the Black Lagoon, which is about Millicent Patrick, the woman who designed the creature from the Black Lagoon, didn't really get much credit and all of that. So I'm like on this, like, I would say that it's a trend, but really it's like the defining thing about my life is just women in horror and science fiction. So I got this, The Science of Women in Horror. So, and it's got the bride on there. So I'm excited to lay into that. It's been pretty fun so far.
That was all I had for novels. So.
Cool.
Did you have anything else, or was that it?
I had like another like little stack here that I think got here accidentally, but I want to go back and reread this one I forgot about, but the Black Monday Murders. I'm gonna go back and give this one a reread. I loved it. Yeah, so like I really liked it, but I think that it's been too long since I revisited it. So maybe once I get through like this dumb stack of stuff that I've got here, I'll probably read it all
Black
together.
Monday Murders, I think, is like peak Hickman.
It's East of West, man.
Because, well, no, I'm saying like peak Hickman, like just, it's weird. It hits all, like, it's fucked up Wall Street. It's Satanism.
Mm-hmm.
There's kind of a murder mystery somewhat. The whole concept of it is fascinating, and the covers, like, completely, like, you look at it, it's like, I need to pick this up.
Yeah, it's intriguing, and you're right. It definitely, when it comes to, I feel like when I try to describe Black Monday Murders, there isn't a box that I can put it into other than, you know, what you just described, like Wall Street, Satanism, like crime, thriller, all of those things. Because when I think about East of West, I'm like, okay, science fiction, like kind of like a weird speculative, like historical fiction kind of. But then when I think about this one, like, you're right, this one's definitely a lot more undefinable.
I also warn people that I know some comic readers, they don't want that much text to have to read. And that one is like very, very text heavy. That's where I say like it's peak Hickman, because it's just exposition, some really nice art, that exposition. Mm-hmm. And if you don't read it all, like, you kind of get lost a little bit. That for me is just fantastic. That's why I say peak Hickman, and read East of West.
Oh my god, East of West. Okay, what else? What else you got? Show me what you've got.
Okay, before I get into the watch stack, we got to talk about cursed movies.
Yeah, we do. So it's funny, like, immediately whenever I watched the episode for The Crow, which is episode 4, I think.
Yes.
Or is it okay? So whatever it is, and especially coming off of watching The Omen, which just the episode that they did for The Omen just was very lackluster in my opinion.
The Poltergeist one. Oof.
The Poltergeist one was really good, but then really thinking about The Crow and what that meant to me, like as a teenager, like, you know, that gothy teenager growing up, and the aesthetics and the emotion into it, and like, that one was a heartbreaking episode to watch of cursed films.
I felt bad. The makeup artist, who, like, you could see him like cracking.
Painful.
And then I think it was the producer who they were talking. He's like, "Do we need to talk about this? I don't want to talk about this." And it's just And because
thinking about Brandon Lee being in the hospital, I think that was the moment where he you can see in his eyes that he's visualizing that moment that they took Brandon Lee to the hospital, and he's like, I don't want to talk about it, but you can see like he sees it in his mind's eye, and it's just painful for him.
They had a weapons expert talk about how what happened, and show with the, you know, on a gun, like everything in there. And how basically the production company cut corners and brought in a local guy instead of paying the union guy, because it was a right to work state. Michael Berryman, who played Pluto in The Hills Have Eyes, if you've watched that, was going to be in the movie, but they had to cut it out. He was going to be the Skull Cowboy. And like the stuff he says was painful to hear. It was one of the best episodes, in my opinion, of it.
For sure. A lot of the other episodes, what was episode 1 again?
Oh, that was the one that was way too short. That was Exorcist.
Exorcist. Like, out of all of the ones that, all of the episodes that I've watched, this was the one where I'm like, I need to go back and watch this show. Good afternoon.
Hey, Perry, and hello, Almatra.
Ooh! Ow! Yay! Thinking about cursed films and thinking about all the episodes, because we got an episode on The Exorcist, Poltergeist, The Omen, and then The Crow. That was the episode, and maybe it was because, one, it was so like, it was one of those like defining things for me as a teenager growing up, seeing The Crow. But man, that I had to go back and watch The Crow immediately.
I couldn't get it on Blu-ray. It's out of print.
I mean, I think we discussed this last week. Like, I have a shit ton of physical media when it comes to books, but when it comes to music and movies, it's all digital. So I just went ahead and bought it, and for $10, like, I know I'm gonna rewatch that a million times.
So I lost my mind during the Twilight Zone episode. I lost my fucking mind.
Oh wait, Twilight Zone episode of
Cursed Films.
Oh, I haven't watched that one yet. So like, no spoilers. Don't say anything about it.
I'm just going to say John Landis is so out of touch with reality and what you're supposed to say at a fucking funeral. I lost my fucking mind. I screamed at the TV.
Did you have a moment where, like me during Star Wars, where you just, what the fuck?
Oh, I immediately text my friend Tattered and Broken. I was like, I don't believe what I just fucking watched. And she's like, what? I'm like, you watch curse movies. Just I can't even with this. And like, I went for a walk afterward.
So tomorrow, I know that the episode that we're doing tomorrow is like, you know, the book club. We read a book and we're going to talk about Irredeemable, which I'm really excited to have Gambit on. But I 100% assure you that I'm probably going to take a moment, and because I'm going to watch cursed movies, I'm going to watch that 5th episode. And yeah.
I got so mad. I don't even know. I don't know if that's the last episode or if there are more episodes.
I hope so.
But for anybody that doesn't know about Twilight Zone, the movie, an actor and some young children were killed in a horrible helicopter accident. There was a lot of union work violations that went on during it. There was a lot of lawsuits that followed. There was a lot of funerals. It took 7 years for the legal cases to go away. 7 years. It was horrific. It was a giant news story when it happened. And I won't say anything more than that, because you really got to just watch and just understand what a shit show it was.
Do you think that this one's going to make me want to go back and watch the movie, or that I'm just going to be like, nope.
I'll never watch it.
Okay.
I mean, the only thing I'd come close to is the William Shatner with the gremlin on the wing of the plane.
Mm-hmm.
So going on now to movies, or do you have anything?
I don't. Once again, I feel like this has been 3 weeks now. The only other show that I can really talking about, I mean, maybe there's two, palette cleansers, Steven Universe, I've just been vibing on. And then I've recently went back and rewatched The Good Place, and
it's too heavy for me.
It's a delightful show. It really truly is. And man, it's good. And like I said, it's a palate cleanser from all the like science fiction horror shit that like I read and watch. But
did you watch the Billy and Mandy episode I sent you with?
I did not. I keep forgetting. So thank you. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna watch Billy and Mandy, and then I'm gonna watch Cursed Films.
So
that's my homework.
We talked about Clive Barker the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And one of his movies I don't think gets enough attention, Nightbreed.
I haven't watched that one, so it clearly doesn't.
Based on the book Cabal. It's a fantastic universe. It's one of those rare movies that the theater cut was not the cut that Clive Barker wanted put out. And they put out a director's cut called the Cabal Cut that was only available on this disc. It's a very interesting universe. David Cronenberg plays one of my favorite villains now. He's called Dr. Decker. And he wears like this Stitch face mask during it. He's actually a psychiatrist who is a serial killer. And he's the true monster of the movie. Fantastic. The creature practical effects are great. They're all different types of creatures. I really enjoyed it. Again, the acting is, but it's you overlook it for the universe that's created.
Got it.
What We Do in the Shadows is an excellent palate cleanser.
Oh my goodness. So that is one of my all-time favorite movies. And Hyro, I think I had this like Facebook exchange with you. Like Taika Waititi is, all of his movies are just so fantastic and kind of in that same way. Like it's delightful. It's a palate cleanser. There's so much humor in it, but then it just like punches you in the gut, but it's still so good. Nightbreed is, yeah.
It's on Amazon Prime Instant, or it was. I have a triple feature movie here that I picked up. It's The Losers, Rock and Roll It, and Shoot 'Em Up. Shoot 'Em Up is one of the most ridiculous fucking movies I have ever watched. It's up there with Crank. It is Clive Owen, and Paul Giamatti is the villain in it. It's basically Clive Owen.
He's not like a rhino, is he?
No, Clive Owen is basically Bugs Bunny, and Paul Giamatti is Elmer Fudd.
Okay.
And
Paul Giamatti is a for sure underrated actor.
Character actor, definitely.
100%.
Clive Owen is even eating carrots constantly during it. He has a gunfight while delivering Monica Bellucci's baby, and he shoots the umbilical cord off. There's a scene with a gunfight with him and Paul Giamatti where he shoots all the lights out so it says "fuck you." It's ridiculous. I fucking love it. The Losers, also underrated comic book movie based off of the Jock book. I forget who the writer was on it though. I don't think it was Brian Wood. But Chris Evans in it is fantastic. You have Idris Elba. You have the actor who plays Jeffrey Dean Morgan is in it. Zoe Saldana. Just a fun movie. It's not the best movie, not by far, but it's entertaining as hell. Like I can sit and completely be engrossed in it. Plus, look, Idris Elba is fucking magic in everything he's in, even the small parts.
Yeah.
Next up, a Kevin Smith movie. Now I jammed his book, but completely underrated. And his first try at kind of a horror movie, Red State.
Oh my goodness. So that movie messed me up. I think I was living in North Florida at the time, and North Florida is, and I say this with a lot of friends who still live there, but I think that they would agree, like, man, it's a hellscape. And I think that I've had nightmares about
Orange and Blue.
Yeah, for sure. Like everything is, there's some weird cults that are there in North Florida, like religious cults, Christian extremists. And man, I went to bed every night worried that Red State was going to happen. And then I moved to South Carolina, which was even worse. But
so Kevin Smith had a very, very long, like, weird interactions with the Westboro Baptist Church, like, and had a kind of history. They protested a couple of his movie openings and stuff. And for people to know, I hate even saying it, that they're the God hates fags people. Like, they protest everything, and that was their big thing. So he decided to make a movie about basically the Westboro Baptist Church, but went a little further with it. It's very low budget, but I feel like this is one of his best movies.
definitely what thinking about like breadth as like a writer director, and I think about all the other movies that he's done, like Red State is so like left field maybe, and it does it. It's really good.
Maybe you're too West Coast for it.
Yeah. Tampa, yeah. If you're in Florida and you do not want to get caught up in like red state bullshit, just stay in your big city, lock the door when you go to the small towns because there's some crazy ass people there.
Michael Parks as the head of their congregation he's strong in it. He's real strong in this.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa Leo also fresh off her Oscar win. John Goodman also was very good in this.
Yes.
Very, very strong cast. And like, again, there's this weird part in it. They're in the middle of a gunfight with the ATF. And Michael Parks turns and goes, "Could you get me some sweet tea?" And I was like, that is the most Southern thing.
For sure. Sweet tea and football is a thing.
The end kind of falls apart a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's like genuine dread during parts of it that I was very surprised Kevin Smith was able to get out. Like, it just was so out of his wheelhouse, but it was very daring of him to do this low budget funded movie and go after what he did. And there's not really any humor to it.
No, unless, I don't know, the caricatures of some of the people, like you can maybe find some humor in that, but favorite Kevin Smith directorials. I haven't watched The Flash, and I feel like I should, maybe even if it's just to set up some of the other stuff, but I haven't done a lot of DC shows.
Better than their movies.
Yeah. I mean, well, that bar is pretty low, except Birds of Prey was really good. Birds of Prey was, in my opinion, fantastic, and I loved it. And I can see you rolling your eyes already, but whatever. I thought it was good.
My thing was, I didn't want a Harley Quinn movie. I
feel like it's
I really
not,
liked.
though.
I wanted the Birds of Prey more than I wanted her. Like,
yeah,
like Mary Elizabeth Winstead was not in it enough for me.
for sure.
I loved the Huntress. I would have liked more of Black Canary.
Mm-hmm. But maybe we just need to give DC, at least DC movie side, a little bit of time. Hopefully we'll get that.
Maybe I need to watch it again, but like,
yeah.
I kind of like, I watched it. I was like, like it was fine. There was some gushing, but I wasn't like Rob Liefeld, like just going in on it. Like,
oh my God, I saw someone roast him on Twitter, and because he mentioned something about the Harley's outfit in Suicide Squad was better, and you can clearly see that it's punk rock because it's influenced by Debbie Harry from Blondie. And then someone posted a picture of some dumb drawing that he did and was like, you do not get to criticize any costume decisions whatsoever, Rob Liefeld. So, thank you Twitter for that.
Well, if there's a salt mine, that's
yeah. To answer the question about Kevin Smith, like directorials, maybe now I feel like I'm questioning myself. He did direct Dogma, right?
Yes.
Like he wrote. Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like when I think Kevin Smith, definitely for sure, I think Dogma and I think Clerks. Those are just going to be the most iconic.
It's weird because there's movies that I feel are comfort food for me, like Mallrats is definitely comfort food. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I really liked Clerks 2 a lot. I'd say as far as directing, I think Red State's his best directed movie.
When I think about that, like not high directing, but like when I think about like, I don't know, with a lot of the other movies, the comedy supplements any like visual aspect of it, but Red State definitely like sets the tone, and like you said, like that sense of dread, you feel it. So I can see that being like a, really. Do you think that Red State, if he had made that during the Dogma, Clerks era of his career, do you think that Red State would have been different, or do you think that he was able to direct a movie like Red State because he could do all the other stuff?
I don't think it would have ever gotten made because he needed to do Cop Out and fail miserably and have that bad experience with Bruce Willis to really sour him on the whole industry thing. And then he was like, you know what? I want to make what I want to make. And he, found independent distribution and everything else for it. I don't think he could have made this movie then. But then it spawned Tusk and Yoga Hosers, and
I thought that I was gonna like Yoga Hosers a lot more than I did, and I feel like I don't know, I didn't love it as much as I thought I was.
It just felt like it was a vehicle for his daughter and her friend, who just happened to be Johnny Depp's daughter.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that both of them are adorable. They're quirky, but I think that I feel like that was just like a whole movie that they made.
Basically. Yoga Hosers.
Yeah. I can't even. I know that I started that movie, and I can tell you that I didn't finish it. And if I did finish it, I don't recall. Like, that's how much that movie meant to me.
Johnny Depp with that weird nose, and
and
that was I want to say right before, or right after all those allegations with Amber Heard started, and I'm not even going to dip my toe into that at all because
I'm going to dip my toe a little bit, but like reading about that as like a very big Johnny Depp fan, and then reading the allegations against him like broke my heart, and I'm like, okay, like here comes cancel culture, and I feel like I canceled him as well, and then it comes out that like a lot of the allegations weren't true, that I got
I mean, I could go both ways, and they're both just terrible.
That I'm not saying. Like, I'm not saying that they're probably not shitty celebrities, but man.
And then this Ezra Miller news now with him choking that girl, like.
I haven't heard any of this.
Oh yeah. They got him on film choking a girl.
Hollywood, can we just like stop? Can we just not?
It's odd. Like you said, it's just one of those things. I'm like, well, Flash will be canceled. I mean, that's not a bad thing.
I know your feelings about Flash because it's not your person, but.
Oh well, no, yeah. I mean, like, Flash the book or the movie, or what are we talking about here?
The show.
Well, I've watched the TV show.
Okay,
I think Grant Gustin's great. No, Ezra Miller from the movies. Like he's the one that choked the girl.
Got it. Then that's where I was confused.
I
don't really watch the show or anything. Okay.
So for my last, it's a twofer. The Collector and the Collection.
Huh.
The Collector is a movie about a ex-con who he is working on a person's house. His wife owes money to some people. So the house he's working on the people are very rich, and he decides he's got to have to rob these people. So while he's casing the house, while he's working on it, he becomes very friendly with the family, which conflicts him even more. He finally decides he needs to do the, and the night he decides to break in, another person shows up wearing a mask, and they set up all these death traps around the house. He's called the Collector. Every house he goes to, he kills everybody, but will put one person in a box and keeps. The death traps are elaborate. Unfortunately, this happened after Saw. So the whole thing was kind of played out, but this is so much better than Saw. You have the unreliable protagonist who he's a bag of shit. He's a Rick Remender character, basically.
Got it.
You like him, you understand why he's doing what he is. He kind of becomes the unlikely hero. Fantastic. And the second movie, The Collection, picks up right after where the first one leaves off. And the other protagonist in it is a girl who is deaf, or she's hard of hearing. So as she's going through the movie, like, starts failing and she stops being able to hear things. The main protagonist is back in it again. And it has one of the most satisfying endings I have ever fucking seen in any movie. Like, the best ending to any horror movie. And that's saying a lot. Like, it's so fucking satisfying. And I love it. It's under the radar type of movie that's like low-key good that you wouldn't think would be good. And especially post-Saw when everything was Saw. But then again, I low-key love all the Final Destination movies. Because they're so fucking crazy that I can't stop watching them.
So the Collector and the Collection.
Yes.
So you said that those came out after Saw, like, because remind me, Saw came out like, I think when I was in high school. So obviously that was pre-2006. So it must have been like 2004, 2005.
Something like that. The Collector.
So then the Collector and the Collection.
2009 was Collector.
Okay, so it's about 11 years old. Cool.
Yeah. The first movie is on Tubi streaming service free.
Mm-hmm.
It bounces around streaming services a lot where it's on, but that was the last place I saw it on. The Collection, you don't really find much. I had to buy it because physical media.
Yeah.
I'm that guy. Let's see. Ezra is ruined is going to ruin The Flash. I'm so disappointed. I feel The Flash was doomed to start with. I do remember them saying Grant Morrison was going to help write the script for it, though.
Ooh. He can do some of his magic.
It's some kind of magic. Like, I just sit there thinking, like, how fucking weird is it going to get?
Can it get weirder? That's like, can it get weird is like Jennifer Baseline, and then can it get weirder?
So, I mean, it could be Flash meeting another Flash, and then, like, they go full on David from Prometheus, and then start, like, poking each other. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I'm here for that. I'm here for that fanfic.
Disney can't vault or censor your physical media. That's true. And then they pull it out of the vault years later. And they're like, specialty, except Song of the South. We will never see that one get unspecialized. You know, like, take it out of the vault. I don't even think they put that into the Disney Plus. But they did have the one with the Scarecrow. That one they did pull out. And it's on the service. Yeah, so, like, I'm still on my horror jag during this quarantine.
Yeah.
I even thought about watching that infection movie, Wreck. Or Quarantine. Wreck was the foreign version of it. Quarantine had Jennifer Carpenter from Dexter.
Yeah.
It's decent, but I always hate the argument of infection movie versus zombie movie. But 28 days later and 28 weeks later, I still love, especially 28 days later.
Yeah. I haven't gone and watched those in a minute. Like, once again, it's probably been about a decade since I've watched those, but so when they first came out.
Cillian Murphy is just awesome. Or Cillian, or however. Yeah, the Spanish version of Wreck. They actually had a real news broadcaster play the lead who never acted before because they wanted genuine reactions. Really, really good. They did a couple of behind-the-scenes thing. There is a YouTube channel called Dead Meat. They do the kill count. And during the kill counts, they do, like, behind-the-scenes stuff. But if you like horror, it's a great channel, and they do counts through the kills of all the horror movies and show all the kills.
Ooh.
Very good. The guy, James A. Janice, is awesome, and they do a podcast, too, the Dead Meat podcast, where him and his fiance talk horror movies. So really good stuff. that is it for my movie choices. Any other rabbit holes we need to go down?
Not that I can. I felt like there was one, but I feel like we already kind of brought up Dune and the Dune over, because that's always a topic that comes up. I feel like there's one that we haven't brought up, but like that's okay. Um,
What did we not bring up?
we didn't talk about Tom King.
I'm good with that today. I was.
So what did I see? Is he
Oh,
doing?
Oh, I know where you're going with this because
Okay.
you read my repost.
Yeah.
I didn't see this one, Vivarium.
And it was unexpected. I haven't seen that one.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, Tom King announced that he's doing something daring and taking a chance.
Oh, that was it. Like he was very like cryptic with it and not really like saying what he's gonna do, which I feel like I'm here for because like it sounds like it's weird, but at the same time, I don't know. Who is doing the artwork? It's not Gerard. So
Horns.
yeah. So I mean, not necessarily like Mitch Gerard's is a great artist, but I think that I'm ready to see Tom King work with someone new.
Yeah, I reposted. I can't wait to not read this because
I'll read it.
They showed Batman, and I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good, dog. I will bring up Cidnya's hot take that she posted on I think it was Instagram the other day. She hated.
Was it Twitter?
She hated Immortal Hulk.
Oh.
Which I respect her take on that. I really like it. I thought it was a fresh take on Hulk, but to each their own. It became more of a horror title. I thought
you were going to talk about her hot take with Dune.
Yeah. She's reading Dune. She has read 60 pages and then quit everything else she was reading. Like stopped reading altogether.
So I can't tell. Like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like, does she just need time to process Dune, which is okay? Is reading Dune?
I'm waiting to get to the weird sci-fi stuff, and I'm not there yet. I was like, you're 60 pages in. It's like 900. Like, chill.
Yeah.
Cidnya, I'm not calling you out here. I'm giving you life advice. You gotta chill the fuck out with it. Like, let it breathe. Let it ruminate. Like, meditate before, after you read it, and just let it wash over you. Well,
I could honestly see, and I think that I told you this when she said that she was starting to read it. I was like, man, I really don't want to like Game of Thrones anyone, where like for so many years, Game of Thrones was like the thing that I recommended. I'm like, you've got to watch Game of Thrones. You've got to watch Game of Thrones. And then that horrible last season, and granted, that just sucked on its own. But I feel horrible for recommending it to people for it to have that ending. So I don't want to like hype Dune up and then just be like, you hate it.
I think once she gets going, like, I don't want to say like once she gets to Children of Dune and God Emperor is where like all of a sudden it goes great.
Ooh, but I feel like when people recommend a first season to me, and it doesn't work out, or I don't like the show or something, and then it's like, oh, but just wait till like the 4th season. It's like, I'm not drudging through that. Anyone see Horse Girl? Is that the one where she lives? No, I'm thinking of something else.
I love Alison Brie, but I haven't seen that.
Is that the one where she like lives in an imaginary land or something like that? Like it's kind of wacky and out there. Maybe it was on Netflix.
Psychological drama.
Where she like lives in like a weird, or she gets into like a weird fantasy land type
place. I think so. She's slipping out of reality and then steeply sliding even further down a snake bit of instability.
I don't think that I could get into that one when I started watching it, but maybe I need to go back.
Yeah, I'm not even aware of that. Boy, I'm slipping.
For me, I think if I recall, it was on Netflix. So I think that it was like, based on what you watch, you should watch this. And I saw it for like maybe a hot minute and then it was gone. So
speaking of Netflix, let's do it. They're the supposed Sandman. It's, you know, all ready to go.
So since we're going to go ahead and talk about it. So like when I think about the Dune remake, I am so flippin' excited for this Dune remake. Like I don't care. I just know it's in my heart of hearts that it's going to be good, and even if it's trash, I'm probably just going to lie and say that it's good. Whatever. But my heart has been broken even more thinking about like the development of Sandman and thinking about one of like it's my favorite comic book other than Saga. Like when I think about the two, it's Saga and Sandman are my two favorite comic books, and I don't know what to feel about it because it's been in development purgatory for so long. The new Dune is subtle and respectful, doesn't try too hard like the Blade Runner remake. I loved the Blade Runner remake, even though I had my critiques about it, but I enjoyed the Blade Runner remake this morning, or a lot. This morning, I actually, because surprise, it's raining in Portland, and like I woke up to a rainy day. I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and put on like the background music to Blade Runner. So that was a thing that I've been listening to all day. But yeah. So when I think about Blade Runner, I don't know. I think that I liked the Blade Runner remake, and when I heard that Dennis DV was attached to Dune, I'm like, I'm in. You son of a bitch, I'm in.
I think the thing that might be I like and also could be a downfall is he's too respectful of the source material. Like he wanted to honor Ridley Scott so much with that last one that it became a little slavish.
Yeah.
To it, and I really like the Blade Runner remake. Well, not even a remake, the sequel. I enjoyed it. Was it too long? Yeah, but the first one was really long too.
Yeah, I think the book "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep" it's a classic, and I love Philip K. Dick. So I think that whenever Blade Runner first came out, it definitely had all of those elements that Do Androids Dream had. I think that it's been such a long time that like from Dune coming out to now, because it's been what, 6 decades? Yeah. Because it came out in the 60s, so it's been almost 6. I think that there's a part of me where I'm like, yeah, I hope that he's respectful to the source material. And then there's another part of me that's like, I want him to go weird, wacky Alejandro Jodorowsky on it.
Well, he's making changes, at least we know, to fix things in his opinion, like the woman problem, Leah Kynes. So there's things that in his mind needed to be fixed from the books,
which for sure they did. For sure they did.
So he's not being completely slavish to it. So I kind of like that he's doing that. I'm game for whatever, and with that cast, I can't imagine it being shitty.
Yeah.
I know the acting will at least be top notch.
I hope they kind of put a Marvel spin on it. And when I say that, I think of that Marvel made their movies fun, enjoyable, and have very specific moments of just comedy in it. So like it'll tell a joke and almost make fun of itself. I hope, because Dune ultimately is a very somber movie. It has zero humor in it. So maybe if they can bring little humor, and I think that if the actors do that very well, like just with their body language, or I think that you can put a pinch of humor into Dune and make it more palatable.
Well, with you saying a somber movie right away, I started thinking the pacing. The pacing's going to be slow.
It is, but it needs to be. And we're going to get 2 movies out of it. Yeah. So in order to get 2 movies out of it, that's where I think where I'm stuck, where I'm not really sure where they're going to split the movie. Like, I think that they're going to split the movie maybe right after meeting the Fremen.
Paul Rudd's the worm.
Yeah, like in one of those moments, I think that that's going to be where half of the movie is. But then to me, after all that stuff with the Fremen, it goes really quickly into other stuff. So who knows?
So I think we're at a good wrapping up point.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody for joining us tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Central. We will have Gambit back with us finally.
Yay!
We're doing his pick, Irredeemable by Mark Wade. It's an interesting read. I have good amount to say about it. I'm sure Gambit will be very excited to be back. We're excited to have him back. And then Jennifer gets to give us her pick for next month, which scares the shit out of me.
I don't think that it should. I finally decided on what it is. So
okay. Support any kind of comic industry stuff that you can with your LCS. You might have new comics at your LCS this coming week. You might not. You got to kind of figure out what you want to do with that. Because, again, if you don't mail order them from another comic store, like if your LCS isn't getting it, just wait.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, at least. And glad we can entertain some of you who are here during the quarantine. So you can find me at comic_chop_news on Instagram or at Chop Comic on Twitter, which I'm barely ever on. It just kind of reposts. Jennifer at Jenning Comics on Instagram, and you can find her also, her reviews on the Comic Lounge. We are going to channel Grant Morrison and his magic because I need to have a breakthrough. So doors will open magically.
Start writing those sigils down.
Oh, they're all over my door. All my doors. It's just like, stay away. So thank you. So long, farewell, Avita Zay. Goodbye.
Good night.
Goodbye.